Right, so Khabib Nurmagomedov's MMA promotion, Eagle FC, have been making quite the splash in the MMA news cycle over the last couple of weeks. So I thought I would sit down and share some of my initial impressions about Eagle FC and their plans to infiltrate the American market. Before I do that, my name is Rashad Evans. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. Actually, no, scratch that. Don't consider, just do it, because I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. We can do it if we all work together. All right, now look, I suppose the place to start is when I first heard that Khabib had acquired this MMA promotion, Guerrilla Fighting Championships, and promptly rebranded it to Eagle FC. And it's no points for guessing why he did that. But when I heard this news story, I didn't really pay it much attention because I'd never heard of Guerrilla FC before. And when the news broke, I just assumed it's a case of Khabib buying a Russian MMA promotion just to facilitate his team, his friends, just Russians in general, having a place to improve at a grassroots level, enabling them to get better and positioning them to be able to fight in one of the big American leagues, right? So they had events, and I believe those events after he purchased the organization were streamed on UFC Fight Pass, right? So when all of this news started breaking over the last few weeks about Eagle FC's move into America, how they're going to be promoting multiple shows in America in 2022, obviously the big news about Kevin Lee signing for Eagle FC, I just thought to myself, hold on a minute. The moves they're making, they don't quite balance out with my initial perception of Eagle FC as an MMA promotion. Right, so I've spent some time, because I'm not exactly I don't really lead an interesting life, if I'm honest with you. So I've spent some time going through the internet to find out more about Eagle FC because I'm genuinely interested, right? So I just wanted to, like I started off the video saying, just share some of my initial thoughts about Eagle FC as a brand and as an MMA promotion. So let's start with the positives, the things that I'm excited about, the things that I'm looking forward to. And I've already mentioned this, but I just want to add a bit more detail. It's the signing of Kevin Lee, right? Because moving into America is one thing. And from the kind of caliber of fighters that they've announced as, or that had previously announced as the main event for their first show, which was initially going to be Tyrone Spong against Bigfoot Silva, I just thought to myself, okay, all right, so maybe this is just a way of them kind of using the same roster of fighters as they've probably got when Khabib bought Guerrilla FC for $1 million, I believe it was. Just giving them this platform in America, giving them the experience of fighting in America, and just giving the MMA audience recognizable names in the main event slot to kind of bridge the gap between Russia and the West, right, or the States. Because let's be honest, Tyrone Spong, Bigfoot Silva, and then obviously Silva then got replaced by Sergei Karatonov. All three of these guys obviously have had their own achievements and reached certain levels of both MMA and, in Tyrone Spong's case, kickboxing. But where they are currently, none of them are in any danger of winning any major heavyweight championship in any organization, right? That's just the facts of it. Now, with that being in my mind, and then the news breaking about Kevin Lee being on the radar of Eagle FC, I thought to myself, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are Eagle FC going after Kevin Lee? He's genuinely, at that moment when he was a free agent, he was probably the hottest free agent in the sport of mixed martial arts. And then the fact that they went ahead and struck up an agreement with him, and I've said this in my video that I made reacting to the fact that Eagle FC had signed Kevin Lee, is I don't know whether I overestimated what other promotions would have been willing to pay Kevin Lee, or whether I underestimated the financial firepower of Eagle FC. But the truth is somewhere in all of that equation. And the fact is, signing someone like Kevin Lee, even though I have my reservations about what he's going to be able to achieve at Eagle FC, I was a little bit like, that shocked me, that surprised me. I just didn't think that would be the kind of signing they'd make, especially this early on in the move to America. So that's another positive from my point of view. Now, I've never heard of FLX, so they're called Flex. FLX, I think, is their kind of partner, and that partner is where we're going to be able to stream Eagle FC fights. So the first event is in January, and then the next one's going to be in March, I believe. And the reason why I'm raising this is I like the fact that Eagle FC is an entity completely independent of the UFC. In my mind, again, when Khabib purchased this organization, I felt that it's just going to be a feeder league for the UFC. Like I've said this multiple times, but I'm going to say it in a different phrase now. I just felt like like I said, it's a place for talent in Russia to be cultivated and moved on to the UFC when they're ready, right? And the fact that I believe, and I don't know this for certain, I did have a look online and I couldn't find any specific information around it. I believe the initial events that Eagle FC held once Khabib purchased the organization, they were streamed on Fight Pass, and now they're not. They're going to be independent of the UFC. So this is an organization that is totally independent, and I didn't think that would be the case. When I found out that Eagle FC are moving to America or promoting events in America, I thought there would be some sort of support from the UFC involved in that, given the relationship between Dana White and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Another positive that I'm looking forward to is the weight classes, innovations. I've said this about Bellator, about not so much about PFL, about this new, what are they called? WFL, World Fight League, this new kind of promotion that are trying this team format and stuff. I just don't understand why these kinds of organizations, and I'll take WFL out of this conversation because I haven't even promoted an event yet, but Bellator, PFL to an extent, why they're so rigid in how they book fights and how they promote events, because it's almost like they don't necessarily have this big massive tanker of a machine behind them that need to stay within a specific framework, right? Like, one of the things that I hate about Bellator, and I might be in the minority here, one of the things I hate about Bellator is the fascination with Grand Prix and not just making fights that make the most sense for fan interest when they can. And a prime example of that is, and I know they did book this fight, right? I don't know whether I want to go into this because it'll waste a couple of minutes, but let's just forget about that. The Grand Prix is is another step of bureaucracy that stops fights from happening when two fighters are at the hottest, I think, personally, when it comes to Bellator. I don't feel like Bellator innovate enough. Like, this Grand Prix idea is something that Strikeforce did now, what, 10 years ago? 12 years ago, and it's something that Scott Coker, for some reason, is just so infatuated with that they just keep doing it. But there's no need for them to do it that way, right? So with Eagle FC having these new weight classes, so from what I've gotten, and this article here, I put it in the description below, sorry, it's from a site called 24ssports.com. Who wrote it? Dustin Huang wrote this article, and I found it very informative. So I'll put it in the link in the description. So the new weight classes are 135, 145, 155, 165, 175, 185, and then 205, and then heavyweight. So why they've left out 195, I don't know. I honestly don't know why they've decided to do that. But I like the £10 increments. I just don't understand. I just feel like the weight classes that we have in MMA at the moment are these arbitrary divisions that were created based on the talent pool available at that time for the UFC. That's just how I think. I mean, I have actually looked into this as well in the past. But I don't know why we have, 155 and then 170 and then 185. Like the splits don't really make much sense to me, right? More or less it's every £15, but then obviously when we started with the featherweights and then the bantam and fly, then it became every £10 until you got to lightweight. But I like the kind of evenness of the splits in these weight classes. And it's funny because the names of these divisions have been taken from boxing, right? But the actual weights, they don't correlate at all. Because a welterweight in boxing is £147. But in MMA, it's £170, right? So, I mean, I don't know whether they're going to actually call them, like, they can still, that they can, with these weight classes, they could either go down the boxing route or just go to the nearest name in kind of general mixed martial arts, if that makes sense. But that's a minor detail. The main thing is giving fighters more options to fight in different weight classes, right? I'm interested in that. Now, the press conference as well with this new FLX arena, going back to the broadcast partner that Eagle FC have. I'm interested to see the look and feel of the show, right? Because we're used to seeing domestic MMA shows have a certain look and feel. For example, how shall I say this? Like when you're watching a Cage Warriors show, and I know some of these shows are at different scales, right? But personally speaking, and I'm not talking about what the arena looks like. I'm not talking about the quality of things. I'm talking about the lighting. I'm talking about how it's shot, etc. Like, personally, I feel like, you go to the look and feel of a Cage Warrior show, a KSW show, and other domestic American MMA shows that I've seen in the past that I can't name off the top of my head, that you see on Fight Pass. Like, there's the one that my mate who's been on this channel twice, John Morgan, commentates on with CM Punk. I forgot the name of it, but there's a certain feel to it, and you can feel that it's this isn't the big leagues, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because these promotions aren't the big leagues. And actually, I need to say, obviously, KSWs, some of these shows are at such a huge scale, and people, proper MMA hipsters, will say, oh no, how can you put KSW in this? But I'm not talking about how many tickets are sold. I'm talking about just, it's hard. Because I'm not a media person, I don't know the right terminology for it, but the way the cameras shoots the action, the kind of sound of the commentary team, etc. That's what I'm getting at, right? I'm not talking about whether you can sell 20,000, 30,000 tickets, or whether you can only sell 2,000 tickets. I'm just talking about, when I'm sat in front of the TV watching this show, the feeling I get is this isn't the top of the top, right? And with this new purpose-built arena, which I believe, according to this article, was a TV studio where these Miami events are going to be broadcast from, and the actual audience itself, it's not going to be a traditional MMA audience where you kind of just buy, an average Joe can buy a ticket. Apparently it might be by invite only, etc., etc. So this is something that I'm interested about. I'm not saying this is a definite positive, but I haven't seen it, so that's something I'm really intrigued about. Another thing that I'm really intrigued about is the actual broadcast team. So Henry Cejudo is going to be teaming with, and I had it right here, Cyrus Fees, who's a gentleman I'd never heard of before, but apparently he's worked on Dana White's Contender series. I did search his name on YouTube. His show rules on there, so I'm interested to see the chemistry between Cyrus Fees, Henry Cejudo, and Felicia Spencer, who obviously recently retired from the UFC. So that's another thing that I'm interested to see. I'm a little bit kind of I have my reservations about Henry Cejudo, because obviously did you know he's got a podcast with the Schmo? Because I only found that out yesterday while I was doing my research for this. But Henry Cejudo, to me, he's not 100% natural and himself in front of the camera, because I feel like he focuses on playing the persona of Triple C. And personally, I believe that the Triple C character, he was actually someone that was so invested in trying to be a good role model and going off on these soliloquies during interviews and kind of media appearances. And I don't think he actually realized how cringy he was until he got labeled the king of cringe, and then he embraced that and ran with it and took it another 100 meters that way. But I feel like I don't know if I've ever seen him be 100% himself and natural in front of the camera. I feel like that's something that he genuinely really struggles with. And I think this is a very good opportunity for him to move away from that, because his focus isn't himself and talking about his own career and who he wants to fight next. His focus here is just describing what's going on in the octagon in front of him, or whatever they call the cage at Eagle FC. That's what his focus is, right? So he doesn't need to worry about trying to promote himself. Now, clearly he has like some level of MMA knowledge. If John Jones and if Figgy and if Zhang Weili are all there training with him, clearly he knows a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So let's hope what he knows and when he's analysing what's going on in front of him, he's able to verbalise it, because that's the only thing I'm a little bit scared of, because I don't feel like he's really grasped being natural in front of the camera to this day. I don't feel like he's done it yet. So I'm interested to see the chemistry between those guys, and I'm interested to see how well Henry does as a commentator. So that's kind of the positives. That's kind of just things that I'm interested about. There's another thing that I'm a little bit worried isn't the right word, right? But Khabib is obviously the face of this organization. You know, this is the story that we're being told. He's the guy that purchased Guerrilla FC for $1 million. He's the owner, he's the president, he's the promoter. But there's a couple of things, right? Now, Ali Abdelaziz is a guy that divides opinions. So it feels like people that he manages feel as though he's the best and nicest man in the world. And people that don't work with him tend to not like him when it comes to the industry, right? Ara Hawani a few weeks or months ago alluded to the fact that he found it difficult to digest the fact that a manager in MMA, Ali Abdelaziz, is heavily involved in the promotion of Eagle FC, because obviously that's a conflict of interest. The owner of this new promotion, why do I keep forgetting it? WFL, is it? Ara Hawani. He's a Canadian guy. He came on the Ara Hawani show. He previously worked in WSOF, World Series of Fighting. It's going to come to me. As soon as I upload this, it's going to come to me. Oh, here it is. Oh, no, it's not. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. You guys can find it yourself. But he worked with Ali Abdelaziz when PFL was World Series of Fighting, and he said he wasn't a fan of Ali Abdelaziz and his practices, which is why he decided to leave WSOF, right? So and I don't know where the truth starts and finishes and where the lies start and finish and what is what. The one thing that I do know is when Khabib was doing his media tour a couple of weeks ago, talking about his organization and talking about Dustin Poirier, who might be interested in fighting this new 165-pound division. He said, I distinctly remember, and I can't remember verbatim, but what he said is, if you want to fight at 165 pounds, call my manager, we can talk. And I thought to myself, well, why is he going to call your manager if you're the promoter, if you own the organisation? Shouldn't he just call you directly if you're the guy that makes these decisions? Truth is, I don't know, and I've tried to find this information, how much of a stake Khabib has in this promotion. I don't know whether there's other partners as part of this ownership group. I don't know how much sway and power Ali Abdelaziz has in this organization. What I do know is Ali Abdelaziz recently signed Cigano, JDS, ex-UFC heavyweight champion. And then JDS promptly signed a deal to fight Pulev in that Triller Triad boxing stuff. But he was present in Eagle FC in a recent Eagle FC press conference, and I wouldn't be shocked if he then signs for Eagle FC. Right now, I suppose time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. But that kind of doesn't really sit right with me when there's references from people within the industry talking about Ali Abdelaziz. His nickname amongst people is Ali Abdelaziz. But I'm here, look, I don't know. It might be like, because obviously Eagle FC is a platform that is either a landing pad for people that are over the hill at the moment, it seems, or it's a launching pad for people that are trying to get to the top of the hill. It might not be such a big conflict of interest, but when you're signing the Kevin Lees of this world, it brings it closer to the world of the UFC and the PFLs and the Bellators, right? It's not in its own lane, as Brendan Schaub would say. Something that again I'm a little bit concerned about, so this is another slight negative. I appreciate the talent pool at the moment in the States, recognizable names, isn't, in terms of free agents, there isn't a widely available number of fighters on the market at the moment that they can sign. So when Tyrone Sprong v Bigfoot Silva was initially the main event, I was a little bit uncomfortable with it, right? Given Bigfoot Silva's struggles in the past, but I was okay because I know Tyrone Sprong isn't exactly an elite mixed martial artist, although he was at one point an elite kickboxer, right? And then Karatonov got put in, but at least he's been active. Obviously, he's not at his best, but he is an active mixed martial artist who has been fighting in Bellator as recently as last year, I believe, right? So that was fine. Then obviously there's talk about Rashad Evans, who's fighting in the January card. Now, we all know how Rashad Evans looked towards the end of his UFC career. But what we were doing is comparing Rashad Evans, the champion of the world, to the Rashad Evans that was clearly not at the same level that he once previously achieved. He's had a number of years out now, and I'm going to Wikipedia this while I continue to talk to you guys. I'm concerned about Rashad Evans and his physical ability going into this fight in January, or in a couple of weeks, I should say. So his last fight was in 2018, 3 years ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he'd lost 5 in a row prior to that. He lost to fucking Smiling Sam Alvey. Like, that is the level that Rashad Evans was performing at. Smiling Sam Alvey, he's currently on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight streak without a win, because one of those fights was a draw. So I'm a little bit concerned about what Rashad Evans we see that night. They announced his opponent, and it was a guy that I had never heard of before. Eagle FC. I saw it on Twitter last night. It's Gabriel Chetko. So I don't know who that is. So let's put him in ShareDog. Control C. You know, I don't make any notes for these videos, and also I don't prepare. That's why I don't make notes and I don't prepare, which leaves us in this situation where I'm literally fucking Googling names and shit to make a point. And this is how I live my life, basically, guys. This is literally how I spend my spare time, Googling fighters and events and going on ShareDog and stuff. But anyway, that will load up. So I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit worried about Rashad Evans. But more so than Rashad Evans, I'm worried about Kevin Lee's opponent. Because from what I understand, Kevin Lee is going to be fighting Diego Sanchez. And that right there, it kind of sickens me a little bit. And I'll tell you why. Because when Kevin Lee signed for Eagle FC, I thought, and this is actually, let's refer to a tweet that Al Iaquinta posted when the news broke, saying that Kevin Lee was calling out Khabib for all these years, only for Khabib to sign Kevin Lee and let his new Russian monsters beat on him, something along those lines. And that's what I thought we were going to get. And it's not like I was sitting here waiting for Kevin Lee to get his ass beat on a regular basis. I was hoping to have someone like Kevin Lee fight their current talent pool, right? Like, just because Kevin Lee's a name, I don't feel the need for him to fight someone that previously has had a name in mainstream MMA. Especially Sanchez. Because, like, that guy, obviously, I don't want to kind of go in on him too much, but he's literally been laying in bed with COVID, and like not just COVID where you've got a slight cough and stuff, COVID where I believe he was getting blood clots and he was on a ventilator and stuff like that. And if we're talking about Diego Sanchez fighting in May and it's January, literally this week, a normal training camp is what, 8 weeks? So it gives him 2 weeks to rest and then get into a training camp. And it just doesn't sit well, you know? It doesn't sit well that Diego Sanchez is the guy that they've picked to fight Kevin Lee. Because I don't even know if he will be able to make the fight. And if he does make the fight, given the fact that he's not exactly what he once was, and add all of this COVID stuff to the equation, what are we doing? What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? But I've gone on for half an hour, just kind of giving you the good. I should have said the good, the bad, and the ugly. But then the ugly wouldn't really mean something I'm interested in. Do you know what I mean? But what I've told you guys is things that I find positive, things that I'm just interested about. I don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. And then things that I'm slightly apprehensive about, things that I'm nervous about, things that I don't quite like, things that have a negative spin, in my opinion, when it comes to Eagle FC. But I've gone on for half an hour here, and I intended to make a quick 10-minute video. But you know, when things start flowing, it's hard to put a stop on it. And I'm actually quite proud of this video because it's literally one take. One take is all it takes. Right, anyway, put your comments below. Let me know what you guys think. If I've missed anything, because it's hard to come by actual information about this organization. That rhymed. But if there's anything that I've missed, or if there's anything that you know, tell me, please, below in the comments. If you want to just react to anything that I've said, if you want to continue the conversation, again, down in the comments, you're more than welcome to. And just general Eagle FC related chitter chatter, feel free to conduct it in the comments below. But that's it from me today. I will catch you guys next time. Please, please, please don't forget to hit subscribe, and share this with a friend and get them to subscribe as well. I'll catch you guys. Actually, before I go, I've got an Instagram and I've got a Twitter for the Battle Camp. I'm now on TikTok. I am now on TikTok. You want a bamba? I won't be dancing to those songs. You want a bamba? You want to? I'm not gonna dance, but I'm just basically all I'm doing is posting the videos that I post on Instagram on TikTok. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thanks for your time. I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra.